Welcome to the south of France. Many people call this the good life, if only for strolling along the seaside, the fine cuisine and the beautiful weather. Here we are in the department of Var, named after the River Var, which ironically, due to border changes in the 1800s, actually doesn't stream through this department anymore. However, in the midst of these gorgeous hills and idyllic villages is the CIRCUIT Paul Ricard. Here is the fourth round of the Hankook 24-hour series for 2015.
We've chosen CIRCUIT Paul Ricard because it's a great venue and we've never had a race in France, so it's a good addition to our series. And for the teams it's good to combine their holiday with a great race.
I was in holiday in Cannes and they asked me 2 days ago to come, so it was a really short time.
CIRCUIT Paul Ricard is in total 5.842 kilometers and it has in total 15 turns, and we are not using the full straight, we have a chicane in it.
A famous Paul Ricard circuit. A circuit, I think it was built somewhere in the 70s. Formula One had a lot of races, Formula One races, Grand Prix here. Now it's a facility is owned by Bernie Ecclestone.
I think Mr. Ecclestone has invested heavily in this and it's a great track. It's a lot of fun to drive. It's just the right amount of cars so you can have a competition, but it's not too crowded like in Dubai.
I love the track. It's a great circuit. It's a technical, so the car setup's got to be right, but I'm really enjoying it.
It's my first time here in Paul Ricard. The track is fantastic. It's a technical track. It's not an easy track. It's long, technical, and you need to stay concentrated all the lap. We have 2 or 3 corners that are very difficult, and if you do this corner well, you can gain a lot of time.
It's not very good for our G55 because we suffer a bit on the straight, but the track is very nice, I think. Fast corner, technical part, very good.
Not as lucky was the 160 Aston Martin caught Oyster Racing, whose car caught fire before qualification started, so they couldn't qualify and therefore will have to start the 24-hour race from the pit lane.
We had some problems with power steering oil hoses. One breakdown and all the oil went to the exhaust, so we had some fire. But the car came to the garage, so we was working complete night in the car. We don't give up, and the car is ready to go.
We had a problem yesterday with our car, and it took us a while to figure out what the problem was. And actually during the night, our mechanics finally found the engine problem. It was a high pressure fuel pump that was not working correctly. And they fixed it, of course, and now the car is good again.
The qualifying was very good for us. We qualified the car on the front row, which was the maximum I think we could do, because we struggle a lot compared to the Mercedes, and so for that we were very happy to be on the front row for the start of the race.
We qualified P1 in class, so we're quite optimistic there's the win there. We've had our fuel limited because of how quick the car is, but I think we're quietly confident to get on the podium and we're aiming for a win.
The race director has waved the green flag and the cars are on their way. The safety car is leading the grid in the warm-up laps, and only when he leaves the track, the drivers can race towards the first corner. But unlike a normal sprint race, this shouldn't immediately determine the outcome of this long endurance race.
It's a long way to go in this race, so no, you're never going to win it in the first corner. You can only lose it from there. So no, definitely we'll take it steady. We got our quickest driver in the start.
We are really looking forward to the Hankook 24-hour CIRCUIT Paul Ricard. The classes are very diverse and we have many teams participating in each class. We also expect it to be very hot. It's July here in Paul Ricard in the south of France. So we are looking forward to see how the teams, drivers and cars will react in these circumstances.
It's nearly 2:30 on Saturday afternoon. The safety car is off the track, the lights have gone off, and 24 hours of racing has started.
My start was not very good. Well, I responded to the light very well, but I immediately got passed by 3 Mercedeses. We went into turn 1-2. I was alongside the number 2 car, and when we accelerated out of the corner, maybe you can show from the picture, I gave the car the number 2 Mercedes. Blekemolen was driving enough space, but he still managed to drive into the back of me. He hit me with his left front on my right rear wheel. We broke the toe link, and it's not a very nice start for a 24-hour race.
Which was really unfortunate. It shouldn't happen in the first corner of a 24-hour race. I think we both pushed really hard for the position, and yeah, I got a bit of understeer. I didn't have a lot of space there, and we touched. Really unfortunate.
On the start, I just backed out of it. There was a few people who wanted to treated it like a 10-lap sprint. You can't win it on the first lap. You've got to be there at the end still to be in for a chance, and you have to treat it as such. It's a long race, and you're racing with other drivers. I've got 3 other drivers in the car. It's not just yourself. You've got to think of everyone else, and you've got to bring the car home.
Thomas Jaeger has secured first position for Ram Racing, followed by Lance David Arnold in the 33 Mercedes of SPF Automotive Performance, while Peter Cox struggles to get his Ferrari into the pits like Jerome Blekemolen did with his Mercedes. However, Peter has had to be collected by the flatbed truck, and that's took quite a while.
It took me longer to get the car here than to actually change the suspension, because we as a team are really well prepared. We have everything already prepared from every corner, so they could manage to change the suspension very quickly and send the car again. You know, for the rest there was also no damage, not even a scratch. It was just the right rear wheel which was broken.
I started the race. It was very difficult because my first experience here in this type of races, and the team gave me the responsibility to start the race, but it was very good. The problem is the temperature is very hot, and it's lap to lap your body starts to get on fire. It's difficult to drive in this condition. I have a problem. A Porsche in front of me hit one of the objects that is outside the corner, and this object fly, and when it fell down I hit the object and I broke my radiator, and we lost a lot of time, 27 minutes in the pit.
So I think we were 4th or 5th in class, but we just got turned around by one of the Porsches, and I think they lost their braking point, came in a bit hot and just hit the rear axle of our car. The wheel was fine, but unfortunately it broke the bottom wishbone, which unfortunately lost us about 12 laps, but we got back in the race and hopefully we'll make it up now.
Racing in the Hankook 24-hour series is not only for the win today, but also for the overall championship. Let's take a look at the current rankings halfway through the season. 3 events behind us, and of course 3 events ahead.
We are halfway in the series right now, and in the team preparator ranking, Bonk Motorsport is standing first, second is Mark Cars Australia 1, and third is Hova Cooper Racing.
Now we are in a championship with the class A5. We was the first, and the driver was my position was in the class position 3.
Well, we're running 3 cars in the series this year, and the 91 car is currently leading the points, and the 92 car is in 4th position.
For the championship, I think we are first. We have first in Dubai and Mugello and Zandvoort, and in second place. For the points, it's okay.
It's the second hour of racing, and Jakob Christensen has gained 11 positions, driving from 49th on the starting grid all the way up to 38th after the first hour. He's not fully happy with that result though.
We have the balance of performance, which means we have a minimum reference time that we're not allowed to go below that time in our class, the A2 class. So I was not able to pull away more than I actually did.
I had to come together with a slow car, overlapping it. It was just in the last turn going on to start-finish. I just was side by side. I dived into the corner, and he just came from the outside, and actually he hit me after the apex. So this is a sign that I was already in front of him. He just didn't look to the inside if there's a car or not. We had 30 minutes break to repair the car. The suspension in the front left was damaged, unfortunately. We are pushing. We are now, I think, 16 laps down. In my stint after, I gained 1 lap again. We were fastest car out there. So we are pushing hard. The race is long.
We had an auxiliary belt fail on the engine earlier, which stopped the water pump, the power steering and various things from working. And ever since, we've been struggling with the engine overheating. We're fairly safe in fourth at the moment, and the car was just overheating when John went out there in the car. I think we got 123 degrees plus. That's where the sensor runs out. We're hopeful we can get it back out again. That's what the lads are working on now. If it's happened to us, it can happen to anyone. So if we're still running at the end, who knows where we'll be.
58 cars entered to start the endurance race. Unfortunately, one didn't make it to the start. They ran into technical difficulties the day before the race.
All the mechanic guys work a lot before the race, and we didn't find the problem. The car didn't take all the RPM, and they work very, very hard. We change the engine, we change the harness loom, all the sensor, and the car didn't work.
So the 32 Renault Clio of Exigence Motorsport not to be found in the standings after the first 3 hours. 30 from Ram Racing after an additional pit stop still has a 5.7 second lead to the 10 Mercedes-Benz of Hofer Racing. The 7 Porsche of HP Racing Ting Herbeth holds on to third position. In SP3, the 170 Speedworks Aston Martin has lost the lead after they had held it in the first hour. They've fallen back to fourth, and it's the Core Oyster Lotus Evora that started from pit lane. They've got a 3-lap lead of the 161 BMW of CIRCUIT Paul Ricard. Nova Racing and the 206 Ginetta is in third. Sadly, the 200 Ginetta, also from Nova Racing, 2 hours spent already in the pits with an engine failure. 3 hours down and 21 to go. We'll see you right after this break. Welcome back to the Hankook 24 hours of Circuit Paul Ricard. Hankook and BRM are series sponsors, but there are also event sponsors.
We are very pleased to welcome Total as a new sponsor in our series. They are the new sponsor of the 24 hours of Circuit Paul Ricard.
With their brand Elf Racing Fuel, Total is well represented on Circuit Paul Ricard, which is a rather multicoloured track.
It's a very colourful track. It's one of a kind in the world. All runoff areas of Paul Ricard are from asphalt, and they are blue and red painted. The blue paint is the same surface as the race asphalt, the racing surface, and the red paint has more grip. So in the more dangerous runoff areas, the paint is red. The paint can help the drivers to stop before the first line of protection, so before the tire barrier or the guardrail.
Imagine like sandpaper. If you drive over sandpaper sideways, it destroys the tire, but it stops the car extremely good. And the blue lines is a little bit more smooth, and the red lines is rough. So if you lose the car and you spin off, you go over the blue lines, and when you're going to hit the red lines, it's like you spin and immediately the car stops. In the past it was gravel. We had a gravel bed, and when you lose the car in high speed, it's not breaking the car, it's just flying over the gravel.
There is also a risk for gravel. If it's not flat and you have undulations in the gravel, then a car can also flip over, and the crash can become worse. When you have asphalt, then the car has the chance to stop by himself.
The leader in the A2 class, Team K Raja, finds out you don't need coloured asphalt or barriers to stop a Peugeot RCZ. Thomas Sorensen behind the wheel when their engine blows.
We had to spend about 30 minutes in the pits, which took us, of course, way down the order. But there's still a very, very long time to go. So we're not going to give up. We're going to keep pushing, and we're going to see how far up the ranks we can fight.
The 115 car would soon be back on track. Hofer Racing has had a win this year at Zandvoort with the number 10 car. However, it's not really competing for the lead at the moment, falling back to fourth in class.
No, it's M car. So we did only 2 minutes 13 and had the opportunity to fuel 20 liters more than the other cars. But we have a defect in the fuel pump, so we didn't get the 20 extra liters. So now we are lost in 17th place. Oh, he ran totally out of fuel because the computer system doesn't work correctly. We didn't get our 20 liters, so he just stopped in front of the pit.
With the help of marshals, the Mercedes is pushed towards the fuel station. Meanwhile, the numbers 2 and 4 cars are making up the places they lost in the first lap.
We obviously were last after the first lap and then lost a couple of laps with repairs, but after that the car was pretty good. We could move up the order and we're hanging on to the top 5 again. So yeah, it's going great. The car is great. My teammates are doing a good job, so hopefully we can continue our way back up.
At the moment we are going really well. We are P13 or 14 at the moment, so it is really, really impressive how the car works and how the team is working. And you know, we will not give up. We'll keep fighting, but obviously now we need some luck to get onto the podium.
The race is divided into 8 different classes, so there's battles for positions all over the field and a very wide variety of cars on the grid. In the pits, meanwhile, the teams have to cope with a variety of issues.
We've had a problem with the wheel nut getting stuck, so routine stop to change tyres and we can't get the wheel off. So the guys are working on it right now to try and get the wheel off. We'll put a new hub on and we'll get going again, but we're losing time right now. So right now we're tumbling back down the order. We were fighting at the front of the race at the beginning. This is obviously hurting us, so we'll get it done as soon as we can. We'll get out, we'll see if we can get back towards the front, but doesn't look too promising. We have a slogan in the team, which basically is a Japanese proverb. It means you never ever give up. So this car will finish the race no matter what.
Synchro Motorsport are desperately trying to get their wheel off, whilst elsewhere on the track, CIRCUIT Paul Ricard would have liked to have kept their wheel on.
I was braking for the last chicane, and then suddenly I heard a very loud noise. And then I was already spinning, and I just saw a wheel flying off and a little bit of the brake disc. I'm not quite sure, I did not look, but I did not touch any curb on the inside, so it was very straight braking, so maybe just worn material. I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm very sad if we cannot continue.
It's already past little children's bedtime, but on the track there are many drivers who are enjoying the circuit far too much to think of sleep.
The circuit is very nice. It's a very technical track, but for a gentleman driver not easy, and I think we will see during the night quite some casualties, I think.
So as it slowly begins to get dark, here are the standings after 6 hours. In the overall classifications, not much has really changed. The Hofer Racing number 10 car has fallen from 2nd to 4th. That leaves the top 3 with the 30 Ram Racing car in the first position. 2 minutes between them and second place HB Racing Team, the Porsche of Team Herberth in second. Simpson Motorsport are 4 laps further behind with their 16 Audi R8. In the SP2 class, the Mark Focus number 91, which was a real contender in the overall championship, is all the way down to last in class. Its 2 sister cars, the 93 Mark Mazda 3 and the 92 Mark Focus, are first and second. The GC Automobile number 150 is following along in third. The Hankook 24-hour series consists of 12 and 24-hour events. So with overnight work required, do teams change the amount of staff that they bring to the events?
We bring about 15 people out with us per event. And really it doesn't change whether it's 12 or 24 hours. Just in 24 hours everyone stays up a bit longer, but the quantity of people required to do the job is much similar.
24 hour means also for each mechanic 24 hour. They only have time in the meantime during the pit stops, but each hour they have to work, change the tires, clean everything. I have no reserve one here. But it's also catering. It's 24 hours is for me one of the hardest thing you can do, and you must be so enthusiastic that you be part of that party here.
Here it's a 24-hour race, but for the crew it's more about a 35-hour event because they're here a long time before and they'll be here after the event packing up and various things as well.
It's great to see that we have so much people with that enthusiasm here. But I think all other teams have the same. It's nice to see.
Back on track, the night is slowly approaching and the temperature's dropping a little bit. So what's the expectations for racing this evening and through into the darkness?
During the night, I think it's going to be really, really cool. It's going to be an awesome track. It's very, very quick, very fast and flowing. Maybe in the dark it will be a little tricky because it is so kind of flat. There aren't many markers around the circuit. There's not a huge amount of features, so it could be tricky at night.
It's getting dark outside at this moment. It's just announced that the teams have to turn their lights on and the race in the dark is starting.
To ensure all drivers were up to speed in the darkness, everyone had to complete a compulsory driving session the day before the race in the evening.
It was my first experience in the night, and it was fantastic because it's different. If you see the mirrors, you don't know if the car is behind you, if 10 meters behind you or 100 meters behind you. You don't know anything. The lights, it's incredible, and you lost a lot of reference. It's a big challenge and a nice challenge.
The 91 Mark Focus finally nearly ready to leave the pit box.
We had some gearbox issues and that put us down a lot of laps. And now the car's being fixed and now we've just come across a misfire, so it's all hit us at once, but we'll bounce back and there's still 17 odd hours to go, so we should be good. Oh look, it's put us down a fair bit, don't get us wrong, but we won't give up. Still a long way to go, so we'll get it fixed and just keep going, and you never know what can happen.
The car's running really well. I've been in races before where we've been fifth with 2 hours to go and we've won it. So you go hard and you go to the end. It's always the same.
We're just about to go into the darkness and so far everything's run quite smooth, but there's still such a long way to go. Personally, I've had a few good battles out on circuit. One for the lead, and some with some traffic that's coming back towards us. It's so hard with strategy to quite know where you are compared to the rest of the field. But at the moment, we're lapping as cleanly and quickly as we can to see where that puts us at the end of the night. I've done this series for a little while now, so I raced most of last season and all of this season so far, so I'm looking forward to the night stints. They're often a little quieter out on circuit. You often find yourself maybe with more pros out there as well, taking care of the deep dark night, so the racing should flow well.
Then perhaps a slight surprise, a firework display along the main straight, drivers, teams and onlookers enjoying this testament to the fun atmosphere at these events, even during the night.
During the nights, the drivers don't drive their maximum times that they can do, just because they have to be more cautious, and the track is very busy, but also the lights of the cars make it a bit confusing. So most drivers drive more carefully than they do during the day.
And here's how it stands after 9 hours. Top three identical to the 6 hour mark. It's in the 6th position that things start to get interesting. Francois Perraudot and the Creventic Sport Porsche is competing in the 997 class and well up the overall leaderboard. The SP3 class, mainly GT4s, and the CIRCUIT Paul Ricard Rennsport 161 have had to retire their car 5 hours and 20 minutes into the race. 3 hours ago they still had 3rd position, now last in class. Nova Race have their 206 and 200 Ginettas 1st and 4th respectively. Core Oyster Racing now up to 2nd in class, and Speedworks Motorsport have some catching up to do with their number 170 Aston Martin. The 24-hour series powered by Hankook is an official FIA series, which meant 1 or 2 changes were necessary from last year.
The FIA status didn't change many things in our series. The biggest change is that the drivers need an international license. They can't participate with a national license anymore. So the minimum license that they need is an international D license. The rest of the regulations, we are allowed to keep them as they were.
But with or without FIA status, drivers clearly enjoy this endurance series, if only for the unpredictability.
We started way at the back, because we had to start from pit lane. So the first stint we went up from way in the back to 23rd, third in class. I think we're now second in class, but I just got out of the car, so we don't know yet. We actually had some problems with the car yesterday. They worked really hard. So far we had no problems in the race. It's a little bit difficult in the dark because not all the corners are light out as perfectly. But it's lots of grip here, great circuit. That's a lot of off-road areas, so there's not much that can go wrong. It's great.
I would say probably the max is a bit less than during daytime, but one always tries to get the maximum speed. So everybody is somehow just close to the limit.
We started from the pit lane, but after 2 hours we were leading class already, so it was going really well. Then we had a little issue with the toe-in link which came loose, and we fixed that as well, and we came back to second place again, and we were doing really well to catch up, but eventually we had a misfire, and basically we blew the engine. It created a hole in the block, and it burned again. We had a couple of good runs, you know. We were second in Silverstone, we won 12 hour of Zandvoort, we won Dubai once, so we're always on the podium with the car. But now we have a problem that we cannot finish. I retired the Lotus Evora, and we continue with the BMW.
We are now reaching the 12-hour mark. It's in the middle of the night. We expect that there still will be great battles on the track, but the teams need to be very cautious because it's really dark at the track. We have put a few lights in different corners, so the dangerous parts are covered, and there won't be many accidents.
Well, perhaps these two drivers might disagree. Halfway through, here are the standings, and it's still Ram Racing's Mercedes leading. HB Racing Team Herbert, the number 7 car, is second. Now 3 hours ago, 3rd, 4th and 5th were all on the same lap, but now it's HP Racing who've got a 2-lap gap to the 4th, nearly 5 minutes on the track. One of the less busy classes is Cup 1, BMW M235i racing cars. 6 hours ago, they were all on the same lap. 3 hours ago, Bonk Motorsport led the class by a lap. Now they're second, 3 laps behind Sorg Rensport in the 67 car. The number 70 of Mission Possible Racing have spent about 20 minutes longer in the pits than the other two, and now a 14-lap gap is what they have to overcome. We'll take a break and be back shortly. The Hankook 24 Hours of Circuit Paul Ricard is heading into its second 12 hours of racing in this endurance event organised by Creventic.
We don't organise the race by ourselves. The DNRT, the Dutch National Racing Team, they are our pro organisers. They have been very important from the very beginning. They have started the 24 Hours of Dubai in 2006 with us.
DNRT started as a team, and in the past they also started organizing car racing events, especially for amateurs, and together with Creventic they are now responsible for the sporting part of the 24-hour series. So they are responsible for the clerk of the course and the race director, checking if everything works according to the rules, and they're also responsible for the scrutineering, so checking if the cars are in compliance with the regulations before and after the event. It was a very big challenge for us to run a 24-hour race on a, for us, all new circuit, but it worked well. We are very happy with the cooperation of the French circuit staff and all marshals here. We have to learn from each other. Also the French marshals, the French officials and the race control staff had to learn from us, and we had to learn their way of working. But it was up till now a very safe and sportive race.
Sporting, but most have had their fair shares of issues.
I had trouble getting into the rhythm tonight because you get tired at this time of the day. You have problems getting the tires seated up because the temperature went down, also the track itself went down, so the main problem is keeping the tires at the right temperature. We had to change the brake pads and the brake disc, and the other teams also have to do that. So 3 laps behind is not really a problem. the other will also get problems. If we can continue like now, we can do first place.
I usually train and drive in the Formula 1 circuit in Sepang, Malaysia. This is really different with a lot of high speed, a mix of high speed corners, mid corners, mid speed corners, and it's really technical at the back and really makes you focus, and it's quite rewarding to get a pretty good lap time here.
We are tired. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, and we still have a BMW running, which is also having some gremlins, still leading the class, but it's still 8 hours to go, so it's not won yet.
Deep in the night and in between pit stops, the engineers try to have a quick nap. The paddock is quite quiet, though there's still heavy activity at the Hankook trucks. Right throughout the night, as well as during the day, new tyres being supplied to the teams. That's not the only activity, as on the other side of the paddock is the fuel station. Just as during the day, race cars are arriving here at regular intervals. And let's not forget our volunteer marshals.
The night was very good. What we can maximum with 4 people on the car, and we have repaired the car in the night after the accident, and the crew was very good.
The number 2 Mercedes of HP Racing is holding on to 3rd place.
We make our main mistake at the beginning. We lost 6 or 7 laps. After that, we make a perfect job. Each driver make it perfect. The team, the strategy, the car work well. So it was just driving without mistakes.
Most of the teams and drivers have got to this point without any major mishap. But dawn is on its way, and in endurance racing, that's the time that most mistakes happen. 5:30 in the morning, let's have a look at the standings after 15 hours. HP Racing Team Herbert have taken over the overall lead with the number 7 Porsche. They're just half a second ahead of Ram Racing, but HP have set the fastest lap, so there's a good chance that they could pull away. HP Racing still in 3rd. In the A3T class for touring cars with turbocharged engines, there's a new type of car, the Seat Leon Cup Racer. 3 teams competing with this type of vehicle, and they're in 2nd, 3rd and 4th position, with the NKPP Racing 98, Memak Ogilvy Dual Racing 95 and Red Camel Jordan.NL 101 respectively. Leading the class though, Team Ultron with their Peugeot 208 GTI. With a sea of headlights behind you, it's a totally different experience to drive through the night. Daylight will be back in the next couple of hours, so we took the opportunity to speak to some drivers and ask them about their night stints.
Personally, I don't have much difference between day and night because, as I said, I have quite a bit of experience. Here, there are 2 curves. The first one, the first turn, it's completely blind. It's completely pitch dark, so it's difficult to identify the point where to get into the corner. No, you just have to find the point. So, not very difficult. But I saw that many drivers had that problem. And because it's old pavement, it's also difficult for some drivers to understand where they are the curve if they don't know the track too well.
It was quite easy to adapt. So I did like 2, 3 laps, and then I did the good timing. I was in the good position.
Oh, it's not really dark. It's like Barcelona. There are a lot of lights around, so it's not really dark. It's fun. I don't go to sleep because I want to watch my daughter driving, so it's not possible for me to sleep.
There's some places where there's no light at all, so you pass from lights to sudden dark, and it's not easy. I mean, you got to get used to it.
I know the night driving very well from the Nürburgring, so I just looking very often in the mirror, and then I see what's happening around me, and so it's okay.
To drive at night, it was difficult, but after a few laps, it was better and better, and at the end we drive the same lap times as in the light.
I like nighttime driving, so it's cooler and you can get in a very nice rhythm, so it's good.
We have a good setting for the night, good tire pressure, and we could drive through the night without any trouble. Most of the work is done, but now it will be hard with the high temperature are coming back.
Dawn breaking, but not a lot of time to enjoy the view. Even though some classes have a clear leader, the overall lead is another matter altogether. The 7 Porsche now leading, but is not increasing its lead over the 30 Mercedes.
We are very good in refueling and pit stop, so that is where we gain. Thanks to the guys, because they work very hard, they didn't sleep the whole night and they're still performing, so very good job. On the other side, all the drivers were very consistent, and we could do some good lap time and fast lap time, so the speed is there as well. At the moment we have not done many mistakes, some penalties, but like everybody, so for the moment we are on the pace.
It's another Code 60 neutralising the race, an ideal time to come into the pit lane, either to the right side for fuel or go to the left down for your pits, or maybe both of course. During the Code 60 this clearly means there's less time lost. In the A5 class only one car still on track, the 75 Hofer Kuiper Racing BMW.
The other 3 cars has problems. One is blowing up the engine, and the second one is our second car here. There's also something on the engine, and the other BMW also has an engine problem. We have another strategy on this car. We say we're rolling and don't fighting, so just stay 24 hours in a race.
Also coming into the pits, a clearly damaged 101 Seat.
Tony get out in the beginning of the morning, and he was on new tires. The second lap he was out in the back of in the beginning of the straight in the back. He is hit by a Mercedes SLS from behind, and the rear suspension was broken, and yeah, it cost us a lot of time, and we had a 3rd position at that time, and we are now back to till 5th and with a few laps behind.
The number 10 Mercedes is assessed a penalty as a result, but not because of the accident.
We got a penalty because he didn't see that the broken wheel made sparks in the fuel station, so we got penalized for that. He was pushed by one car into another car, so we lost our left front wheel. We repaired it in 1 hour's time, and now the car is out again.
Last night was great. We had a real good run. We had a few little hiccups, a couple of penalties which we had to serve, but we came out okay. We dropped to 2nd at one stage, but I had a fantastic battle with the number 7 Porsche and managed to get us back into the lead, and with a very small gap. It was an entertaining battle. It made the hour go very quick.
I had few Code 60 when I was in the car, so for sure we could not increase as much as we would expect the gap with the other car, but I think it's not so bad, and it was instant and fast.
But you can't be too fast, as the number 70 Mission Possible team find out. Also in the SP2 class, the GC Automobile entry couldn't stay on track.
Because I had a problem on the front wheels. 4 laps before, the steering wheel was moving on the right side, and then I was feeling some revision on the braking, and at these braking points the front wheel doesn't brake, so I had to do 1 lap, come back in the pits, and we fixed it, but we lost the podium.
As soon as I went out, I had a lot of smoke in the cockpit, and the engine was cutting, which suggested some kind of safety electronic gadgetry. So I just brought it back in. They figured out what it was. I think it was possibly something to do with the fuel pump.
Quite a few cars now are many laps down on the competition, and with 6 hours to go, there's less and less hope for a podium. Is it really worth continuing?
We will keep pushing and pushing, but it will be hard, it will be tough.
8:30 in the morning, and the HB Racing Team Herbert number 7 is in the lead. Second for Ram Racing now, a lap behind. And third, it's HP Racing's number 2 Mercedes. The leader has just set the fastest lap too. Already had the quickest lap on lap 123, and now does a 2:08.2. In the A2 class, the number 112 Presenza.eu Racing Team Clio has to settle for second in class after winning the last race in Zandvoort in Holland. The number 110 Autosport GP Renault has increased its lead by 2 laps, and the other Renault of Autosport GP not too far away in third.
So we have still 6 hours left, and we're really looking forward to the rest of the 6 hours in the lights.
Hankook 24 hours of Circuit Paul Ricard in a hot south of France. How do the drivers endure this heat?
You have a drinks bottle in the car. Every team, every driver has a different system. We've got a bottle that goes in the car and then a tube that sits on a bit of Velcro down next to you. You pick it up and it's got like a bite to drink system on it. You bite it and the water flows out. And as soon as you stop biting, that's it stops. My valve failed, so it emptied the water all over me, and there was nothing left for me to drink.
We do have drinking system in the car, of course, but the water gets very, very hot, so you are drinking almost boiling water, but still, water is water. So yeah, of course, we do drink during the stints.
We have in total 34 different nationalities here participating in the 24 hours of Circuit Paul Ricard. The teams have 2 to 5 drivers. We have one team that is participating with only 2 drivers, and the other teams have around 4 to 5 drivers in the team.
It's a small team. We are only 2 drivers on our Clio, and we try to do the 24 hours only with 2. You have 2 hours where you can rest a little bit, eat something, sleep a little bit. We tried.
We had a problem at the beginning of the race. We had to change the engine, so we lost like 3 hours. So we climbed back to second position in the classmen. Personally, I've been doing a few endurance races, and it's never finished till the 24th hour. So one of our co-driver, Alberto Vescovi, decided to go home. We initially thought to have the race in 2 drivers, then we convinced the other driver to have the race anyway, and now we're second, so it's good.
Luca Magnoni is clearly having the last laugh. We're used to seeing the Australian-built Mark cars in the 24-hour series. However, this time it's not only the Mark Cars team driving them.
We've built and sold now 9 Mark cars, and our latest car, which is tag named Imola, has been sold to Ivo Brukers, and he came to Bathurst in the Bathurst 12-hour and drove one of our cars earlier this year and was so impressed with the car that he ordered one. So we've produced the first left-hand drive Mark Mazda 3 V8 for him. We're looking forward to running that too in a sister stable to us and be competing against it, although with our technical support in the SP2 category.
Team Red Camel has to take a penalty for their Mark Mazda 3, as many teams have done already, including long-time race leader Ram Racing.
Yeah, we've picked up a few small penalties through the race, as you know most other teams have as well. To serve the time penalties, you have to sit and wait in the pit lane. It's kind of a stop-go penalty, so it's just time out of your race, out of how many laps you can potentially do. I think you have to have penalties in races like this, in all races, to be honest. There has to be rules, there has to be limits and boundaries to what you can do, and yes, some of them you get for maybe making a harmless mistake, something very innocent, but still, it's good that it's the same for everybody, and we're all working to the same rules and regulations.
We try to make sure that all the penalties that are given are also taken the correct way, so that if they get a penalty for 20 seconds, then we will make sure that it is 20 seconds. They have to calculate it themselves, so they keep time themselves, and we only double check it. They get the penalty from the officials. It's brought by a runner to the box. They sign for it that they got it, and then they come back with the penalty. They announce it to us that they want to take the penalty here, and then we'll walk along with them and check if the time is right. You have to take it within 2 hours after you receive the penalty. And if not, then the penalty goes back to the race director and he makes a new decision. And most of the time it means that the penalty will be doubled. Yeah, we just had a special penalty. They were supposed to stop at the penalty box, which is compulsory to stop in the box that we take down here. And they drove too far, and then they again drove backwards via the pit lane, and that's not allowed. So they got a new penalty by taking the penalty.
Just a couple of hours to go, still not smooth sailing for every car.
It's happened. I have an accident with the speed of 170. I lost my tire, you see it here. I spin 4 times, and now we have to fix everything to make safe that we can go make the rolling out. It's not an experience what you need on a Sunday morning, but it's okay.
I'm not sure we can move further up. But I think with all the problems we've had since the beginning, if we get P4 in the end, then it's already a very good result.
This has been a great test of the endurance of man and machine, and in the final 3 hours we'll find out who has the most stamina. 21 hours of racing are completed and the overall position roughly the same as it was 3 hours ago, with first, second and third being the 7, 30 and 2. In fifth position is the number 17 Ruffler Racing Porsche 991 Cup car. It's in the 997 class and leading that, of course. They've got an 8-lap gap between themselves and the 55 Cribelier Sport machine. Porsche Lorient Racing with their 997 Cup S cars are in third and fourth for their 62 and 63 cars. Only the number 52 MSG Motorsport car, which didn't make the 9-hour mark, is gone. Everyone else is still in the race. After 21 hours, the fatigue is an extra battle to overcome, but most have managed to do so.
Of course, you are tired. It is 24-hour racing, and that is the sport, to get everything out yourself and out the car. And yeah, of course, we are tired.
Well, tired. I'm totally top fit normally, but tired. I will be at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
I don't know, we are maybe 5th, so we'll try to do the best. I don't know.
The number 150 GC automobile has veered into difficulties. At the head of the field, it's still been fought out between the 7 and the 30.
If we can come away with the win, that will be fantastic. For our championship, anywhere near the front is going to be good. It's good points, but for us as a team, we want to get the win and get that kind of monkey off our back.
The number 200 Jeanette is in difficulty. Its sister car, however, has a gap of over 90 laps and the firm class leader in SP3.
We've been a bit lucky because the second car is the other car of the team, and they had an engine failure, so they had to change the engine. They lost about 20 laps and they couldn't recover that, so fortunately we're in front just because of that. And I think even my teammates are driving rather fast, so we have a good average that helped during the whole race.
Currently we're leading with about an hour and 20 minutes to go, I think. Our main competition is the number 7 Porsche, but they just had a mechanical issue on the last code 60, which has dropped them back a little bit more.
Just a problem of a temperature in the car. We've got some electronic problem, and with the hot in the car and the high temperature, I get alarm and the ECU stop, I think, or something like this.
We've been crunching some numbers, and we still think they have an outside shot if the code 60 maybe falls at the right point, but we're doing all we can to combat that.
The last stint was very hard because the temperature was very hot in the car, and we got a big gap from the second. We have 4 or 5 laps in advance, but we have to be very sharp on the car, to be very careful with the car to go to the last turn and have the win.
Just over half an hour of racing to go, and the 150 car had to pit and could not be repaired in time to cross the finishing line. The Hofer Kuiper Racing 75 has also had to spend a lot of time in the pit, but has managed to get out in time to finish the race. The last lap of the race has started, and in the last minutes of the race, there's no major changes. It's Jerome Blakemolen just behind the race leader, but laps down, who secures third position for HP Racing. Tom Onslow Cole makes no mistakes and wins for Ram Racing. Alfred Renard, sadly due to a technical issue, was unable to hold on to the lead and has to settle for second.
At the end, they were stronger, they did less mistakes than us, so at the end we are second. But after 24 hours, it's a good result.
I think we were always fairly comfortable that it was going to be very tight between us, but ultimately we knew that it would be a code 60 or something like that, or a mechanical problem that would affect one or other of us. In Mugello it affected us, and here it's affected the Porsche. But it's nice to fight.
Before yesterday someone told me that we finished on a podium. I say it's normally not possible, you're a dreamer. But some other ones have bad luck. We have more luck, I would say. Overall, the key was a perfect car, perfect driver, good job from everyone, and a bit luck also.
And after 24 hours of racing, out of 57 cars, 44 have reached the finishing line. Let's confirm our overall winners. Ram Racing with the number 30 Mercedes-Benz SLS. Second, HP Racing Team Herbert with their number 7 Porsche 997. Third, HP Racing with the Mercedes-Benz SLS number 2. Those top 3 also the result in A6 for GT3 cars. In the 997 class, Ruffia Racing hold on to a 6-lap lead in their 17 car. The SP2 class, the 92 Focus of Mark Cars Australia wins. In the SP3 class, the number 206 has an astonishing 94-lap victory. In the A5 class, the win for the 75 Hofer Kuiper Racing BMW E46 Class A3T. Team Ultran did a great job here with their number 208 Peugeot GTI. The Cup 1 class, the win goes to the number 67 of CIRCUIT Sorg Rennsport. The A2 class, 24 hours of fighting and defending, gave the number 112 Presenza.eu Racing Clio just a 1-lap lead after being second for a long time. That was the Hankook 24 hours of Circuit Paul Ricard. We're leaving the beautiful south of France now, and will return to racing on the 5th of September in what we hope will be sunny Spain for the 24 hours of Barcelona. Be there, watch it live on Motors TV or on the website 24hseries.com.